C. I'm Wayne Hart.
And I'm Lauren Munger.
For the past couple of weeks, I've been hearing about this Kestrel Renewable Energy. That's what I've been hearing about.
But it's a concept that's quite foreign to us, and that's because it's something that's completely new, not just to South Africa, but it's actually launching in Port Elizabeth.
It's a very exciting project, and we have Alex Hofmeyr in the studio this afternoon to talk to us about Kestrel Renewable Energy. Welcome to Algoa FM.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
You're the National Sales Manager.
I am, yes.
All right. Let's first start with renewable energy. What is renewable energy?
Yeah, you hear a lot about it. There's not just what's happening in Port Elizabeth, but generally you hear about all these big wind farms that are going up and solar farms that are going up everywhere. The fact is that Eskom is under a lot of pressure with electricity consumption, and people are, there's a lot of people on the grid and they're struggling to keep up with the requirement. They're putting up big wind farms and big solar farms to try and compensate for that. So these are independent power producers, and they're feeding that renewable energy onto the grid, and that's compensating for that. And then what we have in PE now is that on a smaller scale, essentially. So you have encouraging people to put renewable energy on their houses, little wind turbines or solar panels, and feeding that onto the grid, using some of it themselves, and then the rest they feed onto the grid.
We were chatting off air just before we went on air, and I said to you, what is the difference between this and what everybody else has been going for the last couple of months? I know my folk got solar energy for their geyser a couple of months ago. So how does that different from what you're offering now?
Well, that's a different technology to begin with. That's solar water heating. So that's also helping in terms of getting people off the grid and lowering your electricity bill. But here, in this case, we've got actually literally generating electricity. So it's photovoltaic cells. So we're generating electricity, or wind turbine, and that's running while the wind's blowing, and that's generating electricity. So it's actually, you're using that on site at your house, and whatever you're not using is getting fed onto the grid. So where in the past in South Africa, we've had all our electricity generated by coal-fired power stations. Now we're able to do that through green energy. So it's quite exciting.
That is very exciting. And of course, there's always the cost factor involved. We hate when we hear that the price of electricity is escalating. What kind of money am I looking at saving on installing something like this in my home?
You could essentially zero your electricity bill. So you could literally have no electricity bill going forward. So there's a matter of spending the money to, we'll normally look at what your consumption is, and we design a system according to that. So once we know what it is, we design a system that would zero your electricity bill. If that's what you want to do, you spend the money, and then within 6 or 7 years, you probably made that money back that you spent on that system, and then you don't pay electricity going forward. That's one way of looking at it. Or you could also look at it as a levelized cost of electricity. So you put in that system, that's there for 30 years. It's a sort of expected lifespan of 30 years. So you could say you're paying 30 cents per kilowatt hour for the next 30 years. So that's you've got a very sort of predictable spend over the next 30 years.
Is that the same for residential and business electricity users then?
It is. There's on this particular Port Elizabeth system, there's a 100 kilowatt cap, so it doesn't doesn't fall into really big electricity consumption, consumers, that sort of business bracket. But it is we find, the more we do the calculations, we find that it's smaller business and office blocks, those sorts of things, and then residential. I think residential, we really see a massive takeoff for this. I think people will be excited about being able to put up electricity, generating their electricity, doing something for the earth, and obviously not having these these increases going
and
forward.
Saving money as well. I mean, this is what we need to do is try and save money. How much are we looking at for a setup like this?
Yes,
how much will this cost me?
I think saving money is the critical thing. I mean, up until now, this was possible to do, but it was just it wasn't financially viable. You would have had to put any sort of form of electricity at your home. To be able to use that electricity, you would have had to store it somewhere, and that made it incredibly expensive and cumbersome. So you wanted to go green very badly to do it. Now it's financially viable. So we would look at your consumption because it's Port Elizabeth. Normally we would look at weather data, but that's quite simple. It's in the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality anyway. So we would look at your consumption data, and then we design a system according to that. So you can go anything from 200 kilowatt hours a month consumption, which is quite little, up to 2,000-3,000 kilowatt hours a month. And the beauty of it is, if you have very big consumption, you can always then put a system in that just brings your consumption to below 950 kilowatt hours. Because as I'm sure most people have seen, as you go up in usage, it becomes more expensive. So you could put a system in that just brings you to below those really expensive kilowatt hours. To give you an idea, a system will start at, let's say, 200, 300 kilowatt hours. You start at about 60,000 Rand, and you can go up to, 100,000 Rand for a system that generates 900 kilowatt hours a month. You can finance that system, so you can pay it off, and while you're paying monthly, you save half of what you're paying, which you would have paid in electricity. So.
And you were saying within 6 years you could pay off a system like that and then never have any energy bills again.
That's right. Yeah, that's essentially.
It's almost like it's too good to be true.
It does sound too good to be true.
What is the catch, Alex?
There's no catch really. I mean, this has been standard practice in the UK and America and in European countries. It's generating your own power has been a standard thing to do. So. So we're actually just catching up. We're not doing anything unique. I think. Well, in the same breath, you got to say, the municipality have done incredible work to jump ahead of everyone else in South Africa to be able to get this going. But we're not doing anything unique. I mean, really, this is.
So this technology is new and first for Port Elizabeth.
For South Africa, yeah. The Nelson Mandela Bay municipality have gone ahead. Peter Nielsen and his team at the municipality, they've gone ahead and they've pushed ahead with this and really implemented it. So it's a bit of a feather in their cap in that they've been able to push this forward. There are other municipalities that are doing pilot projects, and there's a few of them that have kind of started going with it, but they haven't kind of just said they'll do it. With this particular sort of program, the municipalities work on their own. So there's no, NERSA obviously they set guidelines, but the municipalities can kind of do, they can come up with authorizing things themselves.
Does this then mean the end of load shedding and electricity blackouts and all of that?
In the long term, probably. Obviously with this type of system, unless we put in a little bit of backup power, that when Eskom is down, you're down. So you don't have backup power. You need back to batteries if you want to do that. But what this will do is, in conjunction with the IPP project, so there's all these big wind farms going up. Outside of Jeffreys Bay, there's big solar farms going up. So that's obviously, geared towards getting more electricity available. And then this system, it's called a small scale embedded generation program. So this will do something similar. It'll get people off the grid. It's great for Eskom and NERSA because they're not spending the capital. People are putting this on their own houses, adding value to their homes. And getting them off the grid, and then getting more electricity available. So yeah, in the long term, that's the idea. Is to get rid of load shedding and those sorts of things. Yeah.
All right, I'm sold. How do we get this? Who do we contact?
Well, you can contact. Obviously we're not the only company that does this, but as Kestrel Renewable Energy, we hope to think that we will lead this a bit. We're part of Everready, so you obviously can contact us. We'd be more than happy to help you, and we'll design the system. We'll send people out to come and have a look, and we do a whole assessment for you. We're based in Everready. We build wind turbines there, and we import solar panels and then design these systems and install them in turnkey projects. Can I give you the details? It's 0414012500. That's, and then obviously www.kestrelwind.co.za. That's our website. And
Kestrelwind.co.za. I was on there earlier. Yeah. Alex Hofmeyr, National Sales Manager for Kestrel Renewable Energy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
You've answered all of our questions, I think, and you can contact them if you have any more questions. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks very much.